Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. We got a great show for you today. We're going to start out, of course, talking about the SCOTUS pick. The Republicans are all on board now, or at least enough of them to get it passed through, and we'll give you the details of that as well. And then kind of lost in the shuffle yesterday is it appears that we have a continuing resolution funding program. In other words, keep the government open temporarily, was passed by the House and is expected to be passed by the Senate. So we're going to talk about the stopgap funding and what that actually means. And then if we have time, we're going to talk about Mr. Lebron James. You know, he came out yesterday in a press conference and essentially denied that he had anything to do as far as inspiring violence in any way. And we're going to talk about that, especially against the police. But before we get into the meat of the stories, I want to tell you about our sponsor and how you can help the show. Big Daddy Unlimited, otherwise known as BDU. We're live every day here from Gainesville, Florida, from Big Daddy Unlimited Studios, and we're grateful for the opportunity to give you our broadcast on a daily basis. If you want to help yourself and help the show at the same time, one good way to do that, beyond liking it and sharing it far and wide as possible, is to go to our sponsorship link. How you find that is look at the show description. No matter whether you're watching it live or taped later for rebroadcast, above the video, you will see a description of our show. In that description, you will find a sponsorship link for Big Daddy Unlimited. 99-cent virtually free trial for the first month. Cancel at any time. $10 a month after that. What it does, the proceeds of that, a portion of those proceeds, $4, actually goes to help us expand the show here at John Martin Talks. The other part of what you do is you get factory direct savings, because Big Daddy Unlimited is all about the Second Amendment, all about guns, ammunition, tactical gear, swag, you name it. Thousands of items shipped directly to you, including guns and ammo, at factory direct pricing. So check it out, Big Daddy Unlimited, our sponsorship link in the description of our show. All right, moving along here. We're going to start with a Politico article. Republicans bet it all on the court again. So what they're saying here is the Republicans came together yesterday. They had a lunch, which they have pretty routinely. I don't know how often, but at least once a month. Could be once a week, but whenever Mitch McConnell calls it. And they had a meeting yesterday, and they talked about mainly the SCOTUS pick and moving forward. They were trying to secure the votes to find out if it was worth moving forward, and especially with Mitt Romney, and we'll talk more about him in just a minute, with him announcing that he would actually vote on the SCOTUS pick, that it certainly seems like there are enough Republican votes, which is all they need. They need 51 votes total. Keep in mind they have Mike Pence as a tiebreaker. So it looks like that they're going to have a vote on Donald Trump's pick, which he has said repeatedly now he will make that pick Saturday. So that's where we're at right now. But let's talk a little bit more detail. Politico story. With their majority, talking about the Republicans, increasingly in peril, and Joe Biden demonstrating a durable lead over President Donald Trump. Keep in mind, this is Politico's words. GOP senators are trying to make 2020 a sequel to their surprising win 4 years ago. Now, I will give Politico this. Donald Trump's win and the Republicans' win, and even their win in 2018 when they increased their majority in the Senate, you could label it surprising. Now, I felt like Donald Trump was going to win pretty much all the time. And definitely on election night when he took Florida, I knew it was over. I felt like it was. But I felt strongly that Donald Trump was winning all the way through 2016 and supported him really from as soon as I knew he was a serious candidate. I've always been a fan of Donald Trump, and I supported him 100%. So I was not surprised when he actually won. The magnitude of his win, when you look at how it affected House and Senate races across the board and state legislatures, that was a little bit surprising because Donald Trump, man, I mean, he had some deep and long coattails. The question will be, can he duplicate that in 2020? And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But as far as this idea that the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, is an issue, well, it should always be an issue. Supreme Court picks are one of the primary things that certainly we talk about lasting impact beyond maybe declaring war. The SCOTUS pick, having the opportunity to put a Supreme Court judge forward, is one of the biggest issues that a president ever does. Certainly it lasts long after they're not only out of office, but quite often long after they have gone on and beyond. So a Supreme Court pick should always be a major issue in a campaign. It should be. The Democratic progressive leadership of that basically control the Democratic Party, they know that it's crucial. That's why they always go ballistic over them and why they've attacked every Republican for the last couple of decades now. They've attacked every Republican nomination vehemently, and they're going to attack this one, although I do believe that President Trump and the Republicans in the Senate are going to get it done. Of course, we can always see how things go. Now, they're talking about here in this first paragraph, it says here, with the majority increasingly in peril, talking about the U.S. Republican senators, Joe Biden demonstrating a durable lead over President Trump. The reaction to the polls that I've seen so far, now we know that polling is more difficult, in fairness to the pollsters, more difficult now in the age of social media and cell phones than it used to be. And then you put Trump derangement syndrome on there and fear and everything else. It's difficult to poll, so I'll give them that. But I've been listening to a lot of progressive talk radio and TV the last couple of weeks. I do it all the time, so you don't have to, quite frankly. But I like to listen to all kind of voices so I can keep my pulse on what's actually happening in America. And I can tell you that listening to progressive, especially talk radio, and there is some on satellite, there's not much on the regular radio, but they are becoming increasingly confident that Joe Biden is going to win. In fact, I would say they're at least as confident that he is going to win as they were that Hillary was going to win. And we saw what happened there, and they were extremely confident. There was no way Donald Trump could win, right? Surprisingly, like they say here. Now, you could say Trump derangement syndrome may be impacting the race as well, and that Donald Trump, he has a record now. He had promises when he was campaigning in 2016. He's kept a large portion of those promises. So he has a record to run on, which is good and bad. It is good in the sense that he can turn to the American people and literally say, promises made, promises kept. But also there may be, now the Democrats, the progressive Democrats were going to be opposed to Trump no matter what. But there may be some, quote, undecided, I'm not sure who they are, or there could potentially be some not MAGA people, but people who did vote for Trump that might be disappointed in him in some form or fashion. We're really not going to know that until the election. That's the only way to look at that. But I will tell you that the left is becoming increasingly energized about Joe Biden. Not because they like Joe Biden, but they believe that he is going to win. And so I don't know about you, but I'm hoping that this happens. Let me show you this meme. They make them cry again. I can't wait to see on election night the progressives crying again. Of course, they've been threatening that if Donald Trump wins, that literally they're going to blow it up. Did you see what Don Lemon, I should have played this video. You've probably seen it already. But Don Lemon the other night, I call him Don the Lemon on CNN, literally said that if the Republicans go forward with this Supreme Court nomination, that we, and I guess he's talking about we being the progressive hardcore leftists from Antifa to Black Lives Matter to I guess the mainstream Democrats, I'm not talking about every Democrat, but the leaders of the Democratic Party are all progressive leftists. But Don Lemon said we'll have no choice but to blow up the system entirely. And I take him at his word. I don't think he's just talking about like a political bomb. I think he's talking about burning it down. And, this is what they're threatening us, but we cannot give in to threats. On with the article. In 2016, Republicans credited Mitch McConnell's decision to block Merrick Garland's appointment with delivering Trump the presidency, as well as saving the Senate GOP majority. Now, I think it was a factor, the Supreme Court, the fact that the next president was because of Scalia's death, was going to appoint at least one judge, and now it looks like three. I think it was a factor, but I don't know if it was the primary factor. I think it's difficult to ascertain that. But one thing they don't want to do here in these articles is give President Trump, then candidate Trump, any credit. I think Donald Trump ran a great campaign. He ran a campaign based on the Electoral College, which is what the Democrats are threatening to destroy. And he ran a textbook campaign. He outworked Hillary Clinton. He was better on the issues. He was a better candidate, and he won based on a great campaign strategy. So I think Donald Trump and his campaign deserve a tremendous amount of credit, especially when you consider that they had never done anything like this before. Back to the article. Senate Republicans' focus on the courts may harm the chances, this is what Politico is saying, of GOP senators in blue states. Liberal voters have been electrified, and Democratic fundraising is taking off after Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death. All of that is true. But a polarizing fight over Trump's nominee could boost the incumbents in red-leaning states that will ultimately determine control of the Senate. Now, I agree with that last statement a lot. And that's one of the reasons why I say that we must have this vote to confirm the justice before the election. It cannot be afterwards, because a couple of reasons. I've said some of this before, but if I say it, certainly it bears repeating. One, I don't trust the Republican Senate to do the right thing after the election. And obviously if Donald Trump wins, it doesn't really matter at that point as long as the Senate is still held in Republican hands. But I don't trust them if the election goes squirrely. Secondly, I do, and this is the main point, I believe that having the confirmation of the Chief Justice, beyond just what Ted Cruz said, that we need that justice on the court to actually potentially determine the outcome of the election, because the Democrats are hell-bent on challenging this in court. They did not accept Donald Trump's election in 2016, and no matter what Republicans do or don't do, they will not accept Donald Trump's reelection in 2020, they being the progressive Democrats. The only two things we can do about that, and I'll get back to the SCOTUS pick in just a moment, the only two things we can do about that is to, one, reelect Trump, two, overwhelmingly not only reelect Trump, but take back the House. Because trust me on this, they will try to impeach Donald Trump literally every day of the week during through 2024, should he have 4 more years. They're not going to accept it. So we just need to bust it wide open, have a punishing, as I call it, election, a red wave election, and not only reelect Donald Trump, but oust maintain and improve on the Senate majority and oust the Democrats from control of the House of Representatives. If we do that, then Donald Trump will be able to actually serve totally as president, unhinged or unleashed, as I like to say, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the biggest reason I think that they need to have this vote before Election Day is I believe it will take the wind out of the sails of the progressives. As much as I've been listening to them, they are just riled up about this. The hardcore left are riled up about this SCOTUS pick. If it goes beyond the election, they're going to say, look, we got to defeat Donald Trump and make sure it doesn't happen. They're going to say that anyway. But I really believe that when Ruth Bader Ginsburg is replaced by a conservative constitutionalist judge, which President Trump has said he will choose on Saturday, I do believe it will take a good bit of the wind out of their sails and could deliver us a huge victory in November. That's just the way I see it. Back to the article. And with only 2 of the 53 Republican senators dissenting from the decision to move forward with filling the vacancy as soon as possible, McConnell and his members have made a calculated gamble that there is little downside for them politically to act on the seat this year. And I agree with that 100%. There is very little downside because the Democrats are going to do what they're going to do. They're threatening violence. Heck, they're already in the streets. They're just going to be more, probably. But so we can't give in to that. And as far as some of these incumbent Republicans, like Susan Collins in Maine, she's probably done anyway. It sounds like it from everything I'm hearing out of there. I've got friends up there that actually know her, and they say it doesn't look too good for her. But let me just tell you, her coming out and saying, and she has time to change her mind, but her saying she's not going to support moving forward with the confirmation, she is done. Because why would any MAGA supporting person support her? Why would any Republican really support Susan Collins if she's not going to vote to make a lasting impact on the Supreme Court, which would outlive her legacy? She's done if she doesn't vote for it, and she's probably done anyway. Now, in Alaska, Murkowski has come out and said that she is not going to support this. She too could change her mind. Let me tell you, she should not only not win re-election a couple of years from now, but after the election is over, regardless of what the outcome is, I call on you Alaskans to recall Murkowski. Don't worry about it now, but after the election, no matter how it goes, I think you guys should initiate a recall on her, because she is, as the old country saying here, she's useless as tits on a boar hog when it comes to conservative issues and Republicans. And Mitt Romney, I got to give old Mitt some credit. Now, I predicted that he would fall into line. And to me, I'm not saying the guy's not doing it for patriotic reasons and legacy and all that. But at the end of the day, I believe, and why I said Mitt would go along, is because it is in his best interest, not only to maintain some sense of power and credibility, but I still believe that Mitt thinks he can be president one day. And I think he absolutely has that in the back of his mind, that he can be. And he knows that if he didn't go along with this, he would have no shot. So Mitt, I thank you. I give him credit. I understand why you did it. I'm just glad you did. You better hold true. Back to the article. The country is still battling the coronavirus with tens of millions unemployed, and the Senate has failed to pass a new stimulus bill. All of that is true. But for the most part, isn't it all the Democrats' fault? Not necessarily the coronavirus, but the unemployment right now. It's Democratic governors that are keeping the economy from opening up completely, right? And the Senate says it's failed to pass a new stimulus bill. That's not true. The Senate actually put forward a stimulus package that the president had already come out and said he would approve, and it puts money directly into the pockets of American citizens, unemployed, or even people who aren't, and it helps small business. But the Democrats said it was too skinny, was the words they used, and they wanted to load it up with all kind of things, to like $1 trillion to improve the cheat by mail, which is what it really is, all of that kind of stuff. So the idea that the Republicans didn't put forth a stimulus package is simply incorrect. It is Nancy Pelosi that has been holding it back. And as far as the coronavirus is concerned, well, what Joe Biden said before he ended his speech the other day, he said, before my speech ends, 200 million Americans will have died from coronavirus. Oh, Joe, man, he's out there, isn't he? So they say here that that it's an open question whether the Supreme Court fight will be the primary issue on the minds of independents and swayable voters as they begin to cast votes this month. Well, the fight will be over before the election if they listen to me, and they better. And as far as reaction of the American people, now the hardcore progressives are going to take it to the streets. They're going to do everything. I tell you about these progressives, one of my axioms. If you're new to the show, lean in and listen to this. First of all, where you been? Secondly, you're in the right place. And as one of my buddies always said, the truth starts now. But one of my axioms is progressives cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be dealt with. They cannot be negotiated with. They can only be defeated. And another one is that they always take everything to the extreme. So they're going to have a reaction to this, and they're going to be in the streets before, after, during the election. Like Kamala Harris herself said, they need to do this. She supports the riots and all to go. That's her words, to go even after the election, that it is needed actually. So we know where they're going to be. But I think if there are swayable or independent voters or Democrats who might actually support Donald Trump, or even some Republicans who are waffling, I do believe that one of the things that is going to push people towards Donald Trump is how the Democrats react in the Senate confirmation hearings. Because we saw what they did with Kavanaugh. It definitely changed some hearts and minds. It even changed some Republicans. Lindsey Graham, the chair of the Judiciary Committee, the current chair, he said flat out that how the Democrats treated Kavanaugh influenced his decision to push forward on a vote right now. And I take him at his word on that. But if they attack these women, because Donald Trump has said he's going to support a woman he's going to choose on Saturday, if they attack them like they any way, shape, or form like they attacked Kavanaugh, I think that will actually help Donald Trump's reelection. And I'm not hoping that happens, because I don't think anybody deserves to be destroyed like they tried to do with Kavanaugh. But if they do it, which they probably will, I think it actually helps Donald Trump. What do you think? Chime in on whatever Facebook page you're listening to and let me know. I'll respond to you as quickly as possible. And also remember our YouTube channel, John Martin Talks. We're getting more views and subscriptions every day there. We need to continue to pump that up. Just spell it all the way out, John Martin Talks, and you can see our YouTube show there live every morning, and of course archived there as well. Back to the article. The makeup of the federal judiciary and issues like abortion have animated evangelicals for decades, true, causing them to turn out in droves for Republicans up and down the ballot. That's probably true. But the article says, but this year, Democrats will use the Supreme Court opening to galvanize their coalition too. Well, I'm hoping there won't be an opening by the first week of November. I actually think they should confirm not only before the election, but they should do it basically within a week of the election or sooner. But I don't have a problem with them doing it tomorrow. But realistically, that's probably not going to happen. Republicans say there's no better way to bring out conservative voters than to remind them of the GOP's Herculean effort to shift the balance of the court over the past 5 years by blocking Barack Obama's vacancy in the election year. First of all, I got to give Mitch McConnell, I'm not a big fan of old Turtlehead myself, but I have to give him and Donald Trump credit. They have done a tremendous job in appointing judges to the federal bench, including all the way up to the Supreme Court. Got to give credit where credit is due. But it says, in filling another one of Trump 4 years later, potentially just days before the election. Here's the thing. They'll be rewarded, the Republicans by Republicans and the president, if they keep their promise. Of course, President Trump is keeping his promises. Promises made, promises kept. That is really the bottom line when it comes to President Trump. But Republicans in the Senate and in the House for a part, even though they don't really play that much of a role in this, they haven't been keeping their promises for a long time. It's amazing that Republicans and conservatives, not always the same, have kept faith with the Republican Party by and large, considering how many times we've been left at the altar by the Republicans. I'm hoping that they will actually get a set of something and not only do the right thing here, but going forward. President Trump has kept his promises. Republicans in general, not so much. Senator Steve Daines, Republican from Montana, who is facing popular Democratic Governor Steve Bullock this year, said the Supreme Court vacancy distills the race to a very clear choice for voters. And he's right about that. But has there ever been a clearer choice than now? I mean, you hear that cliche thrown out a lot, but when you look at everything that's at stake and you look at the two principal people running for president, re-election with Donald Trump and the Democratic nominee of Joe Biden, I don't think you could have a clearer choice. I don't see how it is possible to have a clearer choice than that. I got to play this video. Joe Biden yesterday, he took a shot, I guess, at Bernie Sanders. It was more of the clearer statements he has said in a while, so I think that puts a little bit more emphasis on this. But he was asked about being a socialist at one of his functions yesterday. He only campaigns like every other day. But check out his response to this question. Check it out.
So if I could ask you, sir, I mean, even if you could address our camera directly, talk to the voters that are worried about socialism and you raising taxes.
First of all, I guarantee, I promise, I've never broken my word. Anyone making less than $400,000 will not see one single penny in their tax raised. Number two, I beat the socialists. That's how I got elected. That's how I got the nomination. Do I look like a socialist? Look at my career, my whole career.
Yes, I'll answer that. That's good enough. Yes, you are a socialist. But I love how he said, I beat the socialist. Who is he talking about? He's talking about one Bernard Sanders, Bernie Sanders. He's looking you in the camera, Bernie bros. Are you down with this? And saying, I beat the socialist right there. So if you're part of the AOC wing, the Bernie Sanders, the Bernie bros, are you still, because Ocasio-Cortez came out and said the other day on Instagram, I don't care if you don't like Biden or not, you got to vote for him. And I will tell you this, in a way, I feel sorry for the Bernie Sanders supporters, not Bernie Sanders, but his supporters, because they've been passionate. I know a few personally, and they really believe in Bernie. They worked very hard for him. They gave up some things. I mean, it's not easy to give up a lot and work for this. So, and I'm not talking about everybody who supported Sanders, but I know some people, probably a dozen personally, that worked very, very hard and are passionate Bernie Sanders supporters. But let me just tell you what I told them. You've been sold out from the very beginning. Bernie never wanted to be president. He had one shot to be president this time around, and he did the same thing basically to Hillary Clinton 4 years ago. He sold out. In the one chance when he had a chance to tell the American people, the Democratic voters, that he was the best choice and expose Biden for the fraud that he is, he gave him a pass in that CNN debate. You tell me where I'm wrong on that. You Bernie bros chime in. I got a lot of trollers now. You trollers, tell me where I'm wrong. Bernie sold out. I don't think he ever wanted to be, and they're selling you out again. You heard right there in Biden's own words, he's bragging about beating your guy. He bragged about it. And now you're going to support him blindly? Bernie Sanders has basically re-endorsed Biden since then. He's basically come out with him, and they had a paper they did together, basically defining what Biden's presidency would be about. And you're telling me that doesn't matter? I understand why Bernie did it, because he's a sellout. He's going to do it. But are you telling me that your core principles that you work so hard, that you passionately backed people like Bernie Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez, that you can just throw them aside and vote for Joe Biden? Is your hatred for Donald Trump that much that you cast aside your passions, period? Are you going to sell yourself out, is what it amounts to? If you really want a radical person that is opposed to the status quo, that change, Donald Trump and the Trump train has room for you, baby. Woo, woo. He is the only one that is opposed to the basically the establishment that is destroying this country. So Bernie bros, I ask you again, are you going to sell yourself out? Because that's what you're doing if you vote for Biden. A quick confirmation vote may be an unpopular decision among the broader public. 50% of those surveyed in recent Politico Morning Consult poll said presidential election winners should pick Ginsburg's successor. Well, I got good news for you. The duly elected president of the United States of America is going to pick the next Supreme Court justice and Ginsburg's successor. And that guy is Donald J. Trump. So if you are for the next president or the president picking it, you got your man. Here's another thing I just want to, I should have probably loaded this video as well. I was a little lazy, I guess, this morning. But you know how they're talking about this idea about Ginsburg on her death wish said that she wanted the next president? Well, I'm hoping that's Donald Trump anyway, to appoint her successor. Let's just assume that that's true. So so the left is really harping a lot on that. We need to honor her wish. Well, you know, they're actually talking about packing the Supreme Court with additional justices no matter what happens with this Supreme Court pick. That's one of the things they're going to try to do if they gain power. Well, did you know that Ruth Bader Ginsburg came out just last year and said that was a bad idea, that packing the courts was wrong and a bad idea, and she totally disagreed with it? So if you want to take something we know for a fact Ginsburg said, then I'll post it up on my Facebook site, John Martin Talks. Go there, share it, like it, and share it with others. I'll post it. She said she was adamantly opposed to that. So, you know, take her at her. We know she said that for a fact. Elizabeth Warren, she was back in the news. And this is what she said. I get a kick out of this. Elizabeth Warren, I call her Liawapa. She's kind of been out of it, right? Probably hanging out trying to get one of them casino checks, I guess. The American people do not want to see Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump go forward and steal a second Supreme Court seat. She said Mitch McConnell is going to a place that is contrary to what people want. Contrary to what people want. And, you know, she should know, man. You should know you lost your home state. So you know that your whole career now is contrary to what people want. One thing that was very clear in the 2020 election is they didn't want you, Liawapa, Elizabeth. These are progressive Democrats who's supposed to be in your corner. They didn't vote for you. And so the next question, Billy Bob tells me something. He says, because I asked, what should we do? What should we do now? My psychic sidekick, Billy Bob Bass, I was asking him about that. You know, I'm a fish whisperer. Some of us are sicker than others. But he has a Twitter handle, by the way. It's at Billy Bob Bass 1, and mine is at John Martin Talks. And you can see our videos there as well. They're about a day or so behind, but I try to post them. I'm trying to get more active on Twitter. So come and give us a follow. But Billy Bob said this is what we need to do. We need to ignore the Dems on this SCOTUS pick and just get it done. Just get her done, as they say. We just need to ignore them because they're going to be screaming and saying what they're going to do. And they're going to be violent and all that in the streets and everything else. They're already doing that, for God's sakes. You know, so I think Billy Bob is absolutely right. We just need to ignore what the Dems are doing other than take and use it for campaigning on them when they attack these women that they're going to definitely attack, that are going to be appointed. Whichever woman is the one that President Trump picks on Saturday is going to be viciously attacked by the Dems, and we need to use that against them. But other than that, just ignore what they're doing and push forward and absolutely confirm President Trump's nominee before the election. I'll tell you, that to me is vital. So if there's anything we need to do is make sure we contact our local senators and make sure they know that vote needs to be taken before the election. That is critical. All right. We got a little bit of time left here. I'm going to move on to our second story, and this is all about Miss Queen Nancy Pelosi. I think we got a picture of her looking all dolled up, got her hair done nice and everything else, you know, got that blow dry and everything out there in San Fran. She's looking about as good as she can, right? This is another Politico article. House approves stopgap, remember that word, stopgap spending measure to avert shutdown. The House on Tuesday overwhelmingly voted to extend federal funding through December 11th. Hallelujah, we're saved. While punting the threat of a government shutdown until after the presidential election. So they use this term stopgap, which basically is another word for a continuing resolution. So they don't have to pass a regular budget, which I don't remember the last time they actually did that. Both sides are guilty, and I'll point that out in a minute. But when you hear the term stopgap, it not only means a continuing resolution, but you know what else it means for the taxpayers of the United States of America? It means bend over. Because anytime you hear stopgap, you're getting screwed, America. I'm just telling you, that gives them a license to spend money. Both sides, Republicans and Democrats, are absolutely guilty of this. They've been doing it since before Trump. They'll be doing it probably after Trump. And President Trump himself, and yeah, I'm going to say it, much to the chagrin of some of y'all, but I got to be honest with you. President Trump, if he has one glaring weakness as president or one area where he hasn't lived up to at least my expectation, it comes with spending and holding the line on that. And I understand why they're doing it now, and I'll get into it as well, but I'm going to call it as I see it. It's not a reason not to support the president, by the way, and I'll also talk about that. But the bipartisan vote comes hours. You know what I mean, what I talk about bipartisan? Bipartisanship, in case you're new to the show, the definition of bipartisanship is Republicans cave. Every time when they say the word bipartisanship, Republicans cave. That's the way it always is to me. The bipartisanship vote comes hours after the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, so Trump had a hand in this, clinched a last-minute deal to include billions in nutrition assistance and trade relief payments for farmers, capping wheat. I like how they say nutrition. It's welfare. Now, you could agree with whether they should do it or not, but a code where nutrition assistance is welfare. That's what they're talking about. And trade relief payments for farmers, welfare, capping weeks of contentious negotiations. Really? Contentious negotiations? You really believe that these negotiations? I think it's all theater myself. Was there ever really any doubt? Because remember Pelosi and some of people even said that the Democrats should hold up this spending to stop the confirmation going forward. They were never going to do that. Pelosi immediately said that's off the table, because the one thing that Republicans and Democrats are lockstep in agreement with is they cannot get enough of your money and spend it fast enough. I mean, they don't. So this is one area, as I say, where President Trump, in my opinion, bash me if you want to, but I'm just going to tell it like I see it. He has failed in this area to get spending under control. Now, you could make all kind of things about why he hasn't and everything else, but the fact is he's failed in that area. I'm not saying it's his fault 100% by any stretch, but let me just tell you, because this is what the president is up against. I will give him this, that they don't cut spending. They never cut spending. You say, oh, they talk about, oh, they did cuts to this, cuts to that. They don't cut spending. Not like you think they would. Because to me, if you're in your household, let me ask you, if you had a budget, let's just say it's 50 grand, and you had a thing that said, okay, this year I'm getting a raise, my stocks are doing better, I'm going to have $55,000 to spend. Or let's just say, for easy math, let's say you're going to have $10,000 more. And then you look at it and go, well, it'd be prudent. Maybe I should just only increase my spending by $55,000. That they would say that's a budget cut. No, it's a rate of increase cut. That's all they've ever done. Republicans and Democrats alike. Now, they may have different places where they want to give the money, but they never cut spending. And I don't know that they ever will. And I'll tell you the only hope we have of that in just a moment. But it says here, the short-term funding fix, I like that. I'm sorry, funding fix. I get tongue-tied when I get all, this thing pumps me up because it pisses me off. The short-term funding fix now goes to the Senate, where it is expected to easily pass before September 30th deadline. Funding fix. So all they're worried about is making sure they got your money to spend. They're not worried about balancing the budget. That's the last thing. They look at you and laugh, man. Progressives are just better at lying about it than Republicans. But the Republicans doing it too. You're getting played, I'm telling you. And it said by the September 30th deadline, if signed by President Donald Trump, and he's going to sign it, it would also postpone a slew of contentious funding fights. So they're just battling it out up there. From the border wall to renaming of Confederate monuments at military installations to lame duck session of Congress. Translation, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what the translation is. They don't have to do a dadgum thing. They don't have to do anything. What they're basically saying in this is all the issues we were going to have to debate, we can kick them down the road. That whole metaphor is so, the can is flattened by now. They kicked that dadgum can so much. It's in tatters, man. It looked like it's been run over by a son. There ain't no can left to kick. I'm just telling you the thing. Now, I'll say this. I understand doing it right now. If there's ever a time to do it, it would be now, because and I'm letting them off the hook, and it's hard for me to do that because of this SCOTUS pick. They absolutely need to focus they don't need to be distracted by anything but the SCOTUS pick and getting it done and confirming that justice before Election Day. That is, without a doubt, the most important thing. But there's always something more important than balancing the budget. It just seems that way. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, man, from Maryland, this is what he said. He said, we have an agreement that will keep the government functioning for the people. For the people. Okay, yeah. Like I said, stopgap, bend over, it's coming. This is what Hoyer went on to say, there was a lot of to and froing. There was some kind of froing going on. We're the ones being froed. A lot of people wanted this. A lot of people wanted that. And a lot of people didn't want this. This is the best we have, so we need to take it. And I got to tell you, he's right about it. This is the best we have, so we need to take it. And we are absolutely taking it, ladies and gentlemen. Stopgap, bend over. You're going to take it, I'm telling you. And the thing is, man, these swamp rats, they talk about all this stuff, about all this contentious going back and forth. They love it. Swamp rats of both sides of the aisle, they love crazy. They love contention because it keeps the American people distracted from what they're really doing, which is robbing us blind and stealing the future from our grandchildren. That is what is happening. Both Republicans and Democrats are doing it. The rats are happy in the swamp. They don't want the swamp drained. That's one thing Republicans and Democrats agree on, is they don't want the swamp drained. They just want different pigs at the trough. They're just waiting for their turn. That's all it's about. The bipartisan accord, remember I said about bipartisan, represents a remarkable turnaround, really. After negotiations collapsed late last week after Democrats objected to the GOP's demands for trade relief payments, prompting some lawmakers and aides to privately worry that Washington was coming perilously close to the September 30th deadline. Is there anybody out there that believes that they were perilously close? Come on, man. No agreement to keep the government open. The bipartisan accord, it says, represents a remarkable turnaround. It's remarkable. It's amazing that they did the same thing they always do. What is remarkable about that? The only thing I say that gives them a pass, in my view, is the SCOTUS deal. And so they're doing it for two reasons. The main one is not the SCOTUS pick. Now, I agree that Republicans caved a little bit to focus on SCOTUS, but that's not the main reason. The main reason is the same for both parties, why they always come to this conclusion. And this is why it's not contentious, because they both want one thing, right? What is the one thing both sides want? To get reelected. That's what they want. And they realize that the best thing they could do is keep us like mushrooms in the corner, in the dark, eating the BS that they feed us. Congressional leaders relaunched funding talks on Tuesday, scrapping plans to vote on the Democrats' own version of that bill the same day. Ultimately, Hill leaders agreed to include $8 billion in nutrition assistance, which was 4 times what the Democrats want. 4 times. So they're good. Had originally pushed for in their exchange for tens of billions of dollars in farmer trade relief payments and requested by the White House. Now, I love farmers. I am one still. I got a tree farm. I grew up farming and ranching. I love farmers. Okay. And I understand that they're under a lot of pressure, especially like in the Midwest, and they make us the great country that we are. So I'm down with farmers. But let me just tell you, things like the Farm Bill, which is what this is kind of connected to. If you want to look at something that shows everything that is wrong with this great nation and our legislature, look at the Farm Bill every year. There is literally something for everything, from corporate America, from Wall Street, down to the guy saying we'll work for food on the corner. There is something in it for everyone, and it is corrupting. There are people, and I know some, who campaigned against the very things that are in the Farm Bill, yet when they got there, they couldn't help themselves. They had to fall in line and pass it, for different reasons. It is an unholy alliance. There is when they can come together, when it's about spending taxpayers' money. Continuing resolutions, this thing is nothing. This stopgap, as I say, bend over, is nothing to celebrate. It is us being played. Both Democrats and Republicans had been eager to reach a deal to avert last-minute drama. Right. The stuff they want you to believe is unbelievable. Though the two-part squabble for weeks over various funding and policy provisions in temporary funding bill, last-minute drama. They really want us to believe that, man. It's election year. Let me just tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we are being played. If you're new to the show, one of the things I've said is I need to tell you when we're being played. Both sides love these continuing resolutions. What can we do? Here's what we can do. The only thing we can do at this point is to actually reelect Donald Trump and hope that Donald Trump goes from what they call unhinged to, once he is not running for reelection, to being unleashed. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not saying it's going to happen if he's reelected, because that's a tough thing. But it's the only hope we got is to reelect Donald Trump and hope that, when him not being an incumbent anymore, that he will be unleashed to bring some sanity to all this, because Biden absolutely is not. All right, we only got a couple minutes left. I got to address this very quickly. This is from a publication called The Score. Talking about LeBron James, dismisses notion his stance on police reform promotes violence. So LeBron James, the vote or die guy, following Tuesday's loss to the Denver Nuggets, LeBron refused to comment directly to reporters' questions about this challenge from the L.A. County sheriff, where he said basically he challenged LeBron James to match whatever the reward was. I think last time I looked at it, it's probably higher, was about $350 million. Was it million? No, 350,000. I don't want to be Joe Biden. $350,000 reward to find the person that tried to attempt assassination on those two deputies out there. He challenged LeBron to match it. LeBron hasn't said anything about that. But it says, however, the Los Angeles Lakers superstar did take the opportunity to restate his position on police reform while dismissing it. He said in a tweet a few months back that black people were being hunted. And he went on, and you need to check out this article again because we're running out of time. It is from a publication called The Score. But basically, LeBron takes a pass on it, says he's not responsible for anything, and the media gives him a pass. I'll say this and we'll end the show. Do you remember when Sarah Palin was accused of essentially being almost pulling the trigger against Gabby Giffords because she talked about putting targets on the backs of certain congressional candidates, meaning targeting them for defeat? She was basically said that she was responsible for that. But LeBron James saying that black people are being hunted and not talking about black on black crime or any of that stuff. He is absolutely, let's put it this way, if Sarah was guilty, then he is doubly so. Anyway, check out the article. I'll try to keep you posted on this. I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Please go directly to John Martin Talks Facebook page, like it and share it with others. Remember, I meant to say this earlier, America's Voice News. Check them out on Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, free downloads on your Android, your iPhone. We're on Pluto streaming network and channel 219 Dish Network through America's Voice News. Remember our sponsorship link in the description of our show, Big Daddy Unlimited. Check them out. But above all else, I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. Let's all pray for this great nation, as I say each and every day, from my heart, from my family to yours. Have a blessed day.